Hey guys, thanks for watching part 2 of my video. I'm going to give you a little history about Osama bin Laden. I'm not here, listen, I'm not trying to glorify these guys. They're major fucking assholes. I just want to sit here and give you an honest history about where they came from with, no judgments, just history. And also, one more thing you're going to have to forgive me for is I recorded these videos over a period of about a week. Week and a half now it's going on, and I decided this weekend that I didn't even think about it. I got up, and when my facial hair starts getting long, it really starts to itch my nose, which is why you see me going like this in the videos a lot, and scratching my nose because it's itching. So I decided I was going to shave this weekend, so this part of the video is before I shaved, so forgive me, but here's a little history recorded a few days ago about Osama. Alright, so a little history on global terrorism. The first act of global terrorism that was discovered outside of a Muslim country was in New York on November 8th of 1990. The FBI raided the home of El Sayed Nosar, who was a friend of Ali Muhammad, who was a high-ranking official in Al-Qaeda at the time. But a little bit, at the time that they raided the home, it was just ideas. We want to blow up a New York skyscraper. We want to affect their mass transit system. It was just ideas. There were no set plans in place. And this guy, El Sayed Nosar, you might recognize his name. He was the guy who was convicted for the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center. That was 3 years later on. And there wasn't enough to convict him in 1990 because it was just ideas. So basically what happened, how we got to there was a little history. In 1979, Osama bin Laden graduated college. He took some of the money from his family's construction business and he went to Afghanistan and hooked up with this guy, Abdullah Azzam. Bin Laden and Azzam joined up with the Mujahideen in the fight for the Soviet war in Afghanistan. Okay, so there was this group called the ISI, the Inter-Services Intelligence, who basically found weapons and soldiers from all over the Middle East to put into this Soviet war in Afghanistan and Pakistan and Afghanistan, because this was back in the Cold War days. So in the Cold War, Russia or the USSR tried to flexed their muscles by extending out into Afghanistan and Pakistan and taking over a bigger territory. So the ISI, who was in charge of funneling troops and everything else into Afghanistan and Pakistan, was funded by, I'll give you one guess. Survey says the United States. That's right. The United States and Saudi Arabia pumped $40 billion over 10 years from 1979 to 1989 into Afghanistan and Pakistan through the ISI for this war, where they just brought in troops, weapons, everything they could. So Osama bin Laden and this guy Abdullah Azzam hooked up with this guy Hamid Gul, who was in charge of the ISI. They became good friends with him. So he was actually fighting on our side for a little while. But in 1984, him and Azzam formed this group that would funnel money. He would take his own money from his family's inheritance of the construction business and funnel it into Afghanistan for troops and weapons to fund this army. Osama bin Laden would also get involved in their battles. And that's how he gained his quote-unquote street cred, by funneling all this money from his inheritance into the war and getting involved in these battles. So this went on for 4 or 5 years. So by February of 1989, Russia was done with this whole insurgents. So they moved their troops out in February of 89. So in early 1990, Osama bin Laden went back to Saudi Arabia, a hero of jihad, a war hero, basically. He had gotten all this respect from all these Muslims in all different places all over the Middle East. So I'll never forget it. My birthday, my 16th birthday, August 2nd of 1990, is when Saddam Hussein decided he was going to invade Kuwait. So Osama bin Laden went to the king of Saudi Arabia, because Kuwait was under Saudi Arabian rule. So he went to the king and basically said Osama bin Laden formed Al Qaeda in 1988. Basically, it was at a very secret meeting between him and Abdul Abzam and this guy Ali Muhammad, who was part of the Egyptian jihad movement. They formed this group in secret. And I'll tell you what. And at the time, during the whole war, the Russian war in Afghanistan, or the Soviet war in Afghanistan, it was the Afghanis over here, the Pakistanis over here, the Egyptian jihad movement over here, the soldiers from ISI over here. There were all these different groups that were all fighting for the same goal. But Osama bin Laden and this guy Abdul Azam felt like they should just be one group. They should be one mass group. So that's how they formed Al Qaeda. And believe it or not, to get into Al Qaeda at the time, you had to have good listening skills, kind manners, believe it or not, loyalty, and of course the ability to follow orders, given to you by your superiors. So it was meant to be like, let's gather all the Muslims together and join in, unity. We're not Pakistani, we're not Iraqi, we're not Afghanistan, we're not, Egyptian jihad. We are Al Qaeda. We are Muslims all together with one group. So that's how it was meant to be formed at the time. So when Saddam Hussein decided to invade Kuwait, Osama bin Laden went to the king and said, his group felt that the two major Islam cities, the two cities, Mecca and Medina, where the Prophet Muhammad had received and recited their laws of their laws and the Quran, basically, where he recited the Quran. So they felt that these two cities should be defended by Muslims only. No whites or Asians or anything should be involved. They should be defended by Muslims only. So when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, he went to the king of Saudi Arabia and said, let us come, let's bring our troops in, let us help you, let us fight off Saddam Hussein. And the Saudi king basically said, no, we're going to let the U.S. come in and handle this. And Osama bin Laden was dead against this. So he denounced this war. He denounced the U.S. help. He denounced Saudi Arabia. So basically, 2 years later, Saudi Arabia said, okay, fuck you, we're going to denounce your citizenship. And they both basically kicked Osama bin Laden out of Saudi Arabia, which, of course, made him hate us even more. So he formed Al Qaeda in 88. The Russian occupation of Afghanistan, which was American funded, he was fighting for us, ended in 89. Saddam Hussein attacks Kuwait in 1990, August. 3 months later in November, al-Sayed is caught with these plans to blow up a building or do whatever. Not plans, but ideas. So at what point did he become radicalized is really what I want to know. It had to be somewhere in between about 80, figure maybe over, then again, when he was younger, he was forced to marry his first cousin when he was 18. He was at a law school, Al-Faran, I think the place was called, and he was at their point told to memorize the entire Quran. There's a lot of radical teachings in the Quran, so I'm sure that his radicalism and hatred for America was brought on over years and years and years and years and years. But I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me for him to fight for America in 89 and then try to blow us up in 1990. That was, but okay. Okay, so at least now you have a little bit of background story of kind of what went on there over a period of 30 years before they branched out. So I'll end it here because I know I was going to try to keep this a little bit less long-winded. So thanks for sticking around and watching part 2, and hope you check out part 3. Thanks.